Not Always So. Practicing the True Spirit of Zen by Shunryu Suzuki. Shikantaza. Living fully in each moment. When we do not expect anything, we can be ourselves. That is our way to live fully in each moment of time. Calmness of mind. Calmness of mind is beyond the end of your exhalation. So if you exhale smoothly without trying to exhale, you are entering into the complete, perfect calmness of your mind. Shikantaza, our zazen, is just to be ourselves. When we do not expect anything, we can be ourselves. That is our way to live fully in each moment of time. This practice continues forever. We say each moment, but in your actual experience, a moment is too long, because in that moment, your mind is already involved in following the breath. So we say, even in a snap of your fingers, there are a million instants of time. This way, we can emphasize the feeling of existing in each instant of time. Then your mind is very quiet. So for that period of time, each day, try to sit in Shikantaza without moving, without expecting anything, as if you were in your last moment. Moment after moment, you feel your last instant. In each inhalation and each exhalation, there are countless instants of time. Your intention is to live in each instant. First practice smoothly exhaling, then inhaling. Calmness of mind is beyond the end of your exhalation. If you exhale smoothly without even trying to exhale, you are entering into the complete, perfect calmness of your mind. You do not exist anymore. When you exhale this way, then naturally your inhalation will start from there. All that fresh blood bringing everything from outside will pervade your body. You are completely refreshed. Then you start to exhale, to extend that fresh feeling into emptiness. So moment after moment, without trying to do anything, you continue Shikantaza. Complete Shikantaza may be difficult because of the pain in your legs when you are sitting cross-legged. But even though you have pain in your legs, you can do it. Even though your practice is not good enough, you can do it. Your breathing will gradually vanish. You will gradually vanish, fading into emptiness. Inhaling without effort, you naturally come back to yourself with some color or form. Exhaling, you gradually fade into emptiness. Empty white paper. That is Shikantaza. The important point is your exhalation. Instead of trying to feel yourself as you inhale, fade into emptiness as you exhale. When you practice this in your last moment, you will have nothing to be afraid of. You are actually aiming at emptiness. You become one with everything after you completely exhale with this feeling. If you are still alive, naturally you will inhale again. Oh, I'm still alive, fortunately or unfortunately. Then you start to exhale and fade into emptiness. Maybe you don't know what kind of feeling it is, but some of you know it. By some chance you must have felt this kind of feeling. When you do this practice, you cannot easily become angry. When you are more interested in inhaling than in exhaling, you easily become quite angry. When you are always trying to be alive. The other day, my friend had a heart attack and all he could do was exhale. He couldn't inhale. That was a terrible feeling, he said. At that moment, if he could have practiced exhaling as we do, aiming for emptiness, then I think he would not have felt so bad. That the great joy for us is exhaling rather than inhaling. When my friend kept trying to inhale, he thought he couldn't inhale anymore. If he could have exhaled smoothly and completely, then I think another inhalation would have come more easily. To take care of the exhalation is very important. To die is more important than trying to be alive. When we always try to be alive, we have trouble. Rather than trying to be alive or active, we can be calm and die or fade away into emptiness. Then naturally we will be all right. Buddha will take care of us. Because we have lost our mother's bosom, we do not feel like her child anymore. Yet, fading away into emptiness can feel like being at your mother's bosom, and then we feel as though she will take care of us. Moment after moment, do not lose this practice of shikantaza. Various kinds of religious practice are included in this point. When people say, Namu Amida Butsu, Namu Amida Butsu, they want to be Amida Buddha's children. That is why they practice repeating Amida Buddha's name. The same is true with our Zazen practice. If we know how to practice shikantaza, and if they know how to repeat Amida Buddha's name, it cannot be different. So we have enjoyment, we are free, we feel free to express ourselves because we are ready to fade into emptiness. When we are trying to be active and special and to accomplish something, we cannot express ourselves. Small self will be expressed, but big self will not appear from the emptiness. From the emptiness, only great self appears. That is shikantaza, okay? It is not so difficult if you really try. Thank you very much. Express yourself fully. It is a big mistake to think that the best way to express yourself is to do whatever you want, acting however you please. This is not expressing yourself. If you know what to do exactly and you do it, then you can express yourself fully. When you live completely in each moment without expecting anything, you have no idea of time. When you are involved in an idea of time, today, tomorrow, or next year, selfish practice begins. Various desires start to behave mischievously. You may think you should get ordained, or you worry about what your next step will be. Trying to become someone else, you lose your practice and lose your virtue. When you are faithful to your position or your work, your true being is there. This is a very important point. Without any idea of time, your practice goes on and on. Moment after moment, you become yourself. This practice is not so easy. You may not be able to continue it for even one period of meditation. You will need to make a big effort. Then you can practice extending this feeling moment after moment. Eventually, it will extend to your everyday life. The way to extend your practice is to expose yourself as you are without trying to be someone else. When you are very honest with yourself and brave enough, you can express yourself fully. Whatever people may think, it is all right. Just be yourself, at least for your teacher. That is actual practice, your actual life. Unless you trust your teacher, this is rather difficult. But if you find out that your teacher's spirit is the same as your spirit, then you will be brave enough to continue practicing in this way. Sometimes you have to argue with your teacher. That is okay, but you should try to understand him and be ready to give up your argument when you are wrong. When you find yourself foolishly sticking to one point of view, or when you are making some excuse. That is how to be honest with yourself. When you can give up, okay, I surrender, I'm sorry, you and your teacher are aiming to have perfect communication. For a teacher, the important point is always to be ready to surrender to his disciple. When a teacher realizes he is wrong, he can say, "Oh, you are all right. You're right, I was wrong. If your teacher has that kind of spirit, you will be encouraged to admit your mistakes as well, even when it is not so easy. If you continue this kind of practice, people may say, "You are crazy, something is wrong with you," but it doesn't matter. We are not the same. Each of us is different, and each one of us has our own problems. Fortunately, you have the support of others who are practicing with you. This is not an umbrella to provide shade to protect you, but a space where you can have real practice, a space where you can express yourself fully. You can open your eyes to appreciate the practice of others, and you will find that you are able to communicate without words. Our way is not to criticize others, but to know and appreciate them. Sometimes you may feel you know someone too well, and you have difficulty appreciating them because of your small mind. If you continue practicing together and your mind is big enough to expose yourself and to accept others, naturally you will become good friends. To know your friend is to know something beyond yourself, beyond even your friend. You may say that when you are practicing Zazen, no one can know your practice, but for me, that is the best time to understand you. When you sit facing the wall and I see you from behind, it is especially easy to understand what kind of practice you have. Sometimes I walk around the meditation hall so that I can see you. This is very interesting. If you are dancing or talking or making a big noise, it is rather difficult to understand you. But when you are sitting together, you each sit in your own way. It is a big mistake to think that the best way to express yourself is to do whatever you want, acting however you please. This is not expressing yourself. When you have many possible ways of expressing yourself, you are not sure what to do, so you will behave superficially. If you know what to do exactly and you do it, you can express yourself fully. That is why we follow forms. You may think that you cannot express yourself within a particular form, but when we are all practicing together, strong people will express themselves in a strong way, and kind people will express themselves kindly. When we pass the sutra cards along the row during service, you each do it in your own way. The difference among you are easy to see because the form is the same, and because we repeat the same thing over and over again, we can understand our friends' ways eventually. Even when your eyes are shut, you know, oh, that was so-and-so. This is the advantage of having rules and rituals. Without this kind of practice, your relationships with people will be very superficial. If someone wears a beautiful robe, here he rubs his robe and laughs, you will think he must be a good priest. If someone gives you a beautiful thing, you will think she is very kind, that she is a wonderful person. That kind of understanding is not so good. Usually, our society works in a superficial, frivolous way. The controlling power is money or some big noise. Our eyes and ears are not open or subtle enough to see and hear things. Most people who visit Zen Center find it a strange place. They do not talk so much. They do not even laugh. What are they doing? Those who are accustomed to big noises may not notice, but we can communicate without talking so much. We may not always be smiling, but we feel what others are feeling. Our mind is always open and we are expressing ourselves fully. We can extend this practice to city life and be good friends with one another. This is not difficult when you decide to be honest with yourself and express yourself fully. Without expecting anything, just being yourself and being ready to understand others is how to extend your practice into everyday life. We do not know what will happen. If you fail to express yourself fully on each moment, you may regret it later. Because you expect some future time, you miss your opportunity and you are misunderstood by your friend. Do not wait to express yourself fully. Thank you very much. Freedom from everything. When you are able to sit, experiencing what is shikantaza, then the meaning of your everyday life will be completely different. You will have freedom from everything. My practice of shikantaza or zazen changed about 2 years ago after I almost drowned. I wanted to cross the creek at Tazahara. I cannot actually swim, but the students were enjoying the water so much I thought I would join them. There were so many beautiful girls over there, so I tried to go over there, forgetting that I couldn't swim, and I almost drowned. But I knew I would not die. I knew I would not drown because there were many students and someone would help me, so I was not so serious. But the feeling was pretty bad. I was swallowing water, so I stretched out my arms, hoping that someone would catch me, but no one helped me. I decided to go to the bottom, to walk, but that was not possible either. I could not reach the bottom and I could not get above the surface. What I saw was the legs of beautiful girls, but I could not take hold of their legs and I was rather scared. At that time, I realized that we never have good practice until we become quite serious. Because I knew that I was not dying, I was not so serious, and because I was not so serious, I had a very difficult time. If I knew I was dying, I would not have struggled anymore. I would have stayed still, because I thought I had another moment I did not become serious. Since then, my practice has improved. Now I have confidence in my practice, so I have been telling you how I sit in shikantaza. It was a very interesting experience. I was among beautiful girls, but the beautiful girls could not save me. And as you know, I am dying because of my sickness, not because of water. When I'm dying, various demons as well as beautiful women will be happy to be with me, and I will be very happy to be with them. Everything is with us, and without being disturbed, we are happy to be with everything. Usually, it is difficult to feel that way, because we are involved in gaining ideas, expecting some improvement in the future. When you are not thinking that you have another moment, then naturally you can accept things as they are. You can see things as they are. You will have perfect wisdom at that time. When you are able to sit experiencing shikantaza, then the meaning of your everyday life will be completely different. You will have freedom from everything. That is the main point. Usually, you have no freedom from the things you have or see, but when you experience shikantaza, you will have freedom from things. You will truly enjoy your life because you are not attached to anything. You become really happy, and that happiness will continue, which is what we mean by non-attachment. Most of the happiness you have is the kind you later regret losing. Oh, that time I was happy, but now I am not so happy. But real happiness will always be with you and will encourage you in both your adversity and your happiness. When you are successful, you will enjoy the success, and when you fail, it will also be okay. You can enjoy the feeling of failure. Oh, this is pretty good, not as bad as I thought. You will always have enough. You won't want too much as you did before. If you come to a great difficulty, like a big mountain in Nepal that looks like it has no passageway, you will know that there is a way to get through. Even 100-day session is not difficult. Even though you die, nothing happens. It is okay. So you are always happy and you will not be discouraged. And the kind of life you choose will be different. Before you have right practice, you may want something big and beautiful. The #1 Zen practice monastery in the United States in the world, even better than in Japan. But afterwards, the things you choose and the way of life you follow will be different. Sometimes I give pretty serious lectures. I put emphasis on difficult, hard practice. Don't expect the next moment. Don't move. I'm sorry, but I have to say this, because your practice looks so weak and I want to make you stronger. Actually, it is okay that your practice is not so good, but if you are not strict enough with yourself and if you lack confidence, then zazen cannot be zazen. It doesn't work. What makes your practice go deeper and deeper is the day-by-day effort of sitting. In China and Japan, there are many stories of teachers who attained enlightenment suddenly like this. Oomph! Laughs and snaps his fingers. You may think it was sudden, but actually it was the result of many years of practice and of failing many times. Dogen Zenji's famous words concerning this are, "Hitting the mark is the result of 99 failures. The last arrow hit the mark, but only after 99 failures. So failure is actually okay. Each time you shoot with confidence. Then you are sure to hit the mark. 99 failures are okay. I will continue to try to hit the mark. Each time you sit, do your best." You may think that Zazen is crossing your legs for 40 minutes, but the most important point is to put all your effort, physical and spiritual, into it. Concentrate on your breath. When you are breathing, it is not appropriate. It is hard to do any physical work. Even when you sew, your breathing should follow your activity. When you lift something heavy, your breathing should be completely harmonized, or else you cannot lift it. It is not so easy to have good breathing. You will need good posture and good mudra, ritual hand posture, because your mudra is a symbol of your mental state. If your spine is not straight, your breathing will not be deep enough. Of course, it takes time to develop all of your mental and physical effort. Enlightenment does not come until your mind and body are in perfect accord. If you cannot accept your experience, you won't feel you have enlightenment. In other words, when your mind and body are completely one, then enlightenment is there. Whatever you hear, whatever you think, that is enlightenment. So it is not the sound of a stone hitting bamboo or the color of a plum blossom that makes people enlightened. It is their practice. In your everyday life, you always have opportunities for enlightenment. If you go to the restroom, there is the chance to attain enlightenment. When you cook, there is a chance to attain enlightenment. When you clean the floor, there is a chance to attain enlightenment. So whatever you do, just do it, without expecting anyone's help. Don't spoil your effort by seeking for shelter. Protect yourself and grow upright to the sky. That's all, but it is a little bit unusual, isn't it? Maybe we are crazy. Some people may think that we are crazy, and we may think they are crazy. It's okay. We will find out pretty soon who's crazy. Thank you very much. Jumping off the 100-foot pole. The secret is just to say yes and jump off from here. Then there is no problem. It means to be yourself, always yourself, without sticking to an old self. Why do we practice Zen when we already have Buddha nature? This was the great question that Dogen Zenji worked on before he went to China and met Tendo Nyojo Zenji. This is not an easy problem, but first of all, what does it mean when we say everyone has Buddha nature? The usual understanding is that Buddha nature is something innate within ourselves, and because of this nature, we do something. If there is a plant, there must be a seed that was there before the plant appeared. Because of their natures, some flowers are red and some flowers are yellow. Most of us understand in that way, but that is not Dogen's understanding. That kind of nature is an idea you have in your mind. Why would we practice when we already have Buddha nature? We may think that Buddha nature will appear only after we practice and eliminate various selfish desires. According to Dogen Zenji though, that kind of understanding is based on your unclear observation of things. His understanding is that only when something appears is its Buddha nature reality. Sometimes we say Buddha nature, sometimes we say enlightenment or Bodhi, Buddha or attainment. We call Buddha nature not only by these names, but sometimes we call it evil desires. We may say evil desires, but for Buddha, that is Buddha nature. In the same way, some people may think that lay people and priests are fundamentally different, but actually there is no particular person who is a priest. Each one of you could be a priest, and I could be a layperson. Because I wear a robe, I am a priest, and I behave like a priest. That's all. There is no innate nature that distinguishes priests from layperson. Whatever you call it, that is another name of one reality. Even though you call it a mountain or a river, that is just another name of the one reality. When we realize this, we are not fooled by words like nature, result, or Buddhahood. We see things themselves with a clear mind. We understand Buddha nature in this way. Evil desires is another name for Buddha nature. When we practice Zazen, where would evil desires come from? In Zazen, there is no place for evil desires. Still, we may believe that evil desires should be eliminated. Why is that? You want to eliminate your evil desires in order to reveal your Buddha nature, but where will you throw them away? When we think that evil desires are something we can throw away, that is heretical. Evil desires is just a name we use, but there is no such thing that we can separate out and throw away. You may feel like as if I am fooling you, but it is not so. It is no laughing matter. When we come to this point, it is necessary to understand our practice of shikantaza. There is a famous koan about a man who climbs to the top of a 100-foot pole. If he stays at the top, he may be the enlightened one. How we understand this koan is how we understand our practice. The reason we believe that evil desires should be thrown out is because we stay at the top of the pole. Then we have a problem. Actually, there is no top of the pole. The pole continues forever, so you cannot stop there. But when you have some experience of enlightenment, you may think that you can rest there, observing various sights from the top of the pole. Things are continuously growing or changing into something else. Nothing exists in its own form or color. When you think that here's the top, then you will have the problem of whether or not to jump off. But you cannot jump off from here. That is already a misunderstanding. It is not possible. And even though you try to stop at the top of the pole, you cannot stay there because it's growing continuously. That's the problem. So forget all about stopping at the top of the pole. To forget about the top of the pole is to be where you are right now. Not to be this way or that way. Not to be in the past or in the future, but to be right here. Do you understand? This is shikantaza. Forget this moment and grow into the next. That is the only way. For instance, when breakfast is ready, my wife hits some wooden clappers. If I don't answer, she may continue to hit them until I feel rather angry. This problem is quite simple. It is because I don't answer. If I say, "Hi, yes," there is no problem. Because I don't say yes, she continues to call me because she doesn't know whether or not I heard her. Sometimes she may think, he knows but he doesn't answer. When I don't answer, I'm on the top of the pole. I don't jump off. I believe I have something important to do at the top of the pole. You shouldn't call me, you should wait. Or I may think, this is very important. I am here on the top of the pole. Don't you know that? Then she will keep hitting the clappers. That is how we create problems. So the secret is just to say yes and jump off from here. Then there is no problem. It means to be yourself in the present moment, always yourself, without sticking to an old self. You forget all about yourself and are refreshed. You are a new self, and before that self becomes an old self, you say yes, and you walk to the kitchen for breakfast. So the point on each moment is to forget the point and extend your practice. As Dogen Zenji says, to study Buddhism is to study yourself. To study yourself is to forget yourself on each moment. Then everything will come and help you. Everything will assure your enlightenment. When I say yes, my wife will assure my enlightenment. Oh, you are a good boy. But if I stick to this, I am a good boy, I will create another problem. So on each moment, just concentrate and really be yourself. At this moment, where is Buddha nature? Buddha nature is where you say yes. That yes is Buddha nature itself. The Buddha nature, which you think you already have within yourself, is not Buddha nature. When you become you yourself, or when you forget all about yourself and say yes, that is Buddha nature. This Buddha nature is not something that will appear in the future, but something that is already here. If you have only an idea about Buddha nature it doesn't mean anything. It is a painted rice cake, not an actual one. If you want to see an actual rice cake, you should see it when it is here. So the purpose of our practice is just to be yourself. When you become just yourself, you have real enlightenment. If you try to hold on to what you attained previously, that is not actual enlightenment. Sometimes you will laugh at yourself when you fall into wrong practice. Oh, what am I doing? When you understand how practice goes back and forth, you will enjoy your practice. Real compassion or love, real encouragement or true courage will arise from here, and you will be a very kind person. We say one practice covers everything, which means that practice includes many virtues, like the waves of the sea. When you practice in this way, you become like a stone or a tree or an ocean. You cover everything. Continuous practice is necessary, so do not rest. How to continue is to have a generous mind, big mind and soft mind, to be flexible, not sticking to anything or to ignore anything. That is strictness of the way. When we are not afraid of anything, we are impermeable. To be completely concentrated on what you do, that is simplicity. And the beauty of practice is that it can be extended endlessly. You cannot say that our way is quite easy or that it is very difficult. It is not difficult at all. Everyone can do it, but to continue is rather difficult. Don't you think so? Thank you very much. Changing our karma. The best way is to know the strict rules of karma and to work on our karma immediately. You become very serious when you have a big problem, without realizing that you are always creating problems. With a smaller problem you think, oh, this is no trouble, so I can manage it quite easily. You may think this without even knowing how you will cope with the problem you have. The other day, Tatsugami Roshi said, a tiger catches a mouse with his whole strength. A tiger does not ignore or slight any small animal. The way he catches a mouse and the way he catches and devours a cow are the same. But usually, although you have many problems, you think they are minor, so you don't think it is necessary to exert yourself. That is the way many countries treat their international problems. This is a minor problem. As long as we do not violate international treaties, it will be okay. As long as we do not use atomic weapons, we can fight. But that kind of small fight eventually will result in a big fight. So even though the problems you have in your everyday life are small, unless you know how to solve them, you will have big difficulties. This is the law of karma. Karma starts from small things, but with neglect your bad karma will accelerate. Recently, I read some of Buddha's teachings about the way. Restrain your many desires while receiving food and drink. Accept it as medicine. Do not accept or reject it based on what you like or dislike. Just support your bodies and avoid starvation and thirst. As a bee in gathering honey tastes the flower but does not harm its color or scent, you may accept just enough of people's offering to avoid distress. Don't have many demands and thereby break their good hearts. Wise men, for example, having judged the capacity of their animal's strength, do not wear them out by overloading them. To restrain your many desires is not really a matter of big or small or many or few. The idea is to go beyond desires. To have few desires means not to divide our concentration among too many things. To do things with oneness of mind, with true-hearted spirit. That is to have few desires. While receiving food and drink, accept it as medicine. This means to be concentrated, accepting it with your whole body and mind without any dualistic idea of you and food. So we receive or accept food rather than saying we take food. Taking is more dualistic. Accepting is more complete activity. Accepting is a more complete activity. You may think that to take is a more complete action than to accept, but according to Buddha's teachings, to grasp or to take food does not include complete acceptance. Because it is dualistic, you will create karma. You may wish to grasp it because some other person wants to take it, so you must be very quick. but when you receive it, already you have it. And if you accept it with great appreciation, thank you very much. That is what Buddha meant as true activity of restraining your desires. Do not accept or reject it based on what you like or dislike. Again, to accept or reject it in this way is dualistic. This kind of teaching does not mean to have control over your desires. If you want to control your desires, you will struggle with how much to limit your desires or your food, and in that way you will make more problems, one after another. You may even find some good excuse to have more food, then you will lose your way. Just support your bodies and avoid starvation and thirst. If you know how to practice Zazen, then you will know how much food to take, and there is no danger of eating too much or too little. As a bee in gathering honey tastes the flower but does not harm its color or scent, this is a very famous parable. When we take honey because the flower is beautiful or the scent is nice, we miss the true taste of the flower. When you are taking care of yourself and the flower, you can have a direct feeling of the flower and the taste of its honey. Often we are not so careful. We may ruin a beautiful flower, or we may stick to a particular flower. If we stick too much, eventually the flower will die. The purpose of the flower having honey is to help the plant by inviting bees. So it is necessary to know whether we are like a bee or like something else. When we are aware of the difficulties that we sometimes create, we can extend our practice more carefully throughout our everyday life. Our minds should be more careful, more attentive, and more reflective. You may think our way has too many rules about how to treat things, but before you know what you are doing, you cannot say there are too many rules. So notice whether you are creating problems in your everyday life or creating bad karma for yourself and others. And you should also know why you suffer right now. There's a reason why you suffer, and it is not possible to escape from suffering unless you change your karma. When you follow karma and drive karma in a good direction, you can avoid the destructive nature of karma. You can do that by being attentive to the nature of karma and the nature of your desires and activities. As Buddha pointed out, to know the cause of suffering is to know how to avoid suffering. If you study why you suffer, you will understand cause and effect and how bad action results in bad effects. Because you understand, you can avoid the destructive power of karma. As long as we have an idea of self, karma has an object to work on. So the best way is to make karma work on the voidness of space. If we have no idea of self, karma doesn't know what to do. Oh, where is my partner? Where is my friend? Some people try hard to banish karma, but I don't think that is possible. The best way is to know the strict rules of karma and to work on our karma immediately. If you know something is wrong with your car, stop your car immediately and work on it. But usually we don't. Oh, this is a minor problem for my car. It is still running. Let's go. That is not our way. Even though we can keep driving, we should take care of our car very carefully. If you push your car to the limit, the problems are constantly working on your car, until finally it stops. Now it may be too late to fix it, and it will require a lot more energy. So everyday care is very important. Then you can get rid of your misunderstandings and know what you are actually doing. Thank you very much. Enjoy your life. The only way is to enjoy your life. Even though you are practicing Zazen, counting your breath like a snail, you can enjoy your life. Maybe much better than making a trip to the moon. That is why we practice Zazen. The kind of life you have is not so important. The most important thing is to be able to enjoy your life without being fooled by things. If you go to a library, you will see many books, and you can find out about our human knowledge that is so vast and almost impossible to study. Now someone is going to land on the moon. Actually, I don't know anything about how we are reaching to the moon, or what kind of feeling we will have when someone arrives there. To me, it is not such an interesting thing. I want to speak about the moon trip, but I have not had any time to study it. So if I talk about the moon trip, you may think, he's so ignorant. People I see today or tomorrow may speak about the moon trip as if they know everything about it. If I hear them speak about the moon trip and I feel that they are not really interested, I may not respect them so much. The first one to arrive on the moon may be very proud of his achievement, but I do not think he's a great hero. I don't know how you feel, but I don't feel that way. On television, he may be a great hero for a time and he be treated that way for his achievement. If we think about this, we immediately know how important it is to practice Zazen. Instead of seeking for some success in the objective world, we try to experience the everyday moments of our life more deeply. That is the purpose of Zazen. One time, Marianne showed me some sand. When she gave it to me, she said, "These are very interesting stones. It just looked like sand, but she asked me to look through a magnifying glass. Then those small stones were as interesting as the stones I have in my office. The stones in my office are bigger, but under the glass, the sand was quite similar. If you say, 'This is a rock from the moon,' you will be very much interested in it. Actually, I don't think there is a great difference between rocks we have on Earth and those on the moon. Even if you go to Mars, I think you will find the same rocks. I'm quite sure about it. So if you want to find something interesting, instead of hopping around the universe like this, enjoy your life in every moment. Observe what you have right now and truly live in your surroundings." Yesterday, I went to visit an island owned by the Nature Conservancy, where there are many kinds of animals, birds and fish. It was a very interesting place. If you live in an area like that and really start to see things, to see the plants and animals in that area, you may want to stay there your whole life. It is such an interesting place. But we human beings go hopping around, ignoring many interesting things. We may even travel to the moon or beyond. It is rather foolish. If you stay in one place, you can enjoy your life completely. That is a more human life. When we go to the moon, I am not sure we are following the best direction for human beings. I don't know what we are doing. When we find the spirit of Zazen, we find the way of life to follow as a human being. In other words, we are not fooled by things or fooled by some particular idea. Dogen Zenji at first refused to receive an honorary purple robe from the emperor. After he turned it down a second time, the emperor said, "You must receive it." So finally he accepted it, but he didn't wear it, and he wrote to the emperor saying, "I very much appreciate your purple robe, but I do not dare wear it, because if I wore it, the birds and monkeys on this mountain would laugh at me." In meditation, we sometimes practice counting our breath. You may think it is silly to count your breath from 1 to 10, losing track of the count and starting over. If you use a computer, there will be no mistake. If you use a computer, there will not be any mistake, but the underlying spirit is quite important. While we are counting each number, we find that our life is limitlessly deep. If we count our breath in the ordinary way, as we would count the distance from here to the moon, our practice doesn't mean anything. To count each breath is to breathe with our whole mind and body. We count each number with the power of the whole universe. So when you are really experiencing counting your breath, you will have deep gratitude, more than if you arrived on the moon. You will not be so interested in something just because it is considered great, or uninterested in something usually considered to be small. Still, you may be very interested in having new experiences the way a baby is. A baby has the same basic attitude of interest towards all things. If you watch her, she will always be enjoying her life. We adults mostly are caught by our preconceived ideas. We are not completely free from the objective world because we are not one with the objective world. Things change. For the usual person, it is very discouraging. You cannot rely on anything. You cannot have anything. And you will see what you don't want to see. You will meet someone you don't like. If you want to do something, you may find that it is impossible, so you will be discouraged by the way things are going. As a Buddhist, you are changing the foundation of your life. That things change is the reason why you suffer in this world and become discouraged. When you change your understanding and your way of living, then you can completely enjoy your new life in each moment. The evanescence of things is the reason why you enjoy your life. When you practice in this way, your life becomes stable and meaningful. So the point is to change your understanding of life and to practice with the right understanding. To arrive on the moon may be a great historical event, but if we don't change our understanding of life, it won't have much meaning or make much sense. We need to have a deeper understanding of life. We say there is a Rinzai way and a Soto way, Hinayana practice and Mahayana practice, Buddhism and Christianity. But if you practice any of these as though you are hopping around the universe, it will not be much help. If you have right understanding in your practice, then whether you take a train, an airplane or a ship, you can enjoy your trip. If you go to Japan by boat, it may take 10 days and by airplane maybe 10 hours. But if the point is to enjoy your trip, time is not a concern. Even though you make a trip by airplane, you cannot live 1,000 years. You only live 100 years at most. And you cannot repeat your life, so you cannot compare your life with any other life. The only way is to enjoy your life. Even though you are practicing Zazen, counting your breath like a snail, you can enjoy your life, perhaps even more than taking a trip to the moon. That is why we practice Zazen. The most important thing is to be able to enjoy your life without being fooled by things. Thank you very much. Walk like an elephant. Instead of galloping about, we walk slowly, like a cow or an elephant. If you can walk slowly without any idea of gain, then you are already a good Zen student. All the teachings come from practicing Zazen, where Buddha's mind is transmitted to us. To sit is to open our transmitted mind and all the treasures we can experience from this mind. To sit is to open up our transmitted mind and all the treasures we experience come from this mind. To realize our true mind or transmitted mind, we practice Zazen. Many people seek for a special place and become confused. As Dogen Zenji says, why give up your own seat and wander about in the dusty realms of foreign countries? When we are sightseeing, we are involved in an idea of hasty attainment. Our way is to go step by step, appreciating our everyday life. Then we can see what we are doing where we are. People often think it would be best to study Zen in Japan, but this is rather difficult. Why don't you stay at Zen Center, I ask them. If you go to Japan, mostly you will encourage them to build more new buildings. They may be very happy to see you, but it is a waste of time and money, and you will be discouraged because you cannot find a good Zen master. Even if you find a teacher, it will be difficult to understand him and to study with him. You can do true Zazen practice here, watching yourself step by step, one step after another. We practice like a cow rather than a horse. Instead of galloping about, we walk slowly like a cow or an elephant. If you can walk slowly without any idea of gain, then you are already a good Zen student. In China, at the end of the Song dynasty, many Zen masters, responding to their students' desires, encouraged them to attain sudden enlightenment using various psychological means. It may not be a trick. I shall be scolded if I say trick, but I feel that kind of practice is something like a trick. So those Zen masters would be good friends with the psychologist who tried to explain the enlightenment experience. But originally, Zen was completely different from this kind of practice. Dogen Zenji makes this point strongly, referring to a story about the first ancestor in China, Bodhidharma, and the second ancestor, Tai Zoeka. Bodhidharma tells Zeka, If you want to enter our practice, cut yourself off from outward objects and stop your emotional and thinking activity within. When you become like a brick or a stone wall, you will enter the way. For 𝗹𝘄, this was a very difficult practice, as you must have experienced, but he tried very hard until he finally thought he understood what Bodhidharma meant. Then 𝗹𝘄 told Bodhidharma that there was no break, no gap in his practice, never any cessation of practice, and Bodhidharma said, "Then who are you? Who does constant practice?" 𝗹𝘄 said, "Because I know myself very well, it is difficult to say who I am." And Bodhidharma said, "That is right, you are my disciple. Do you understand? We do not practice Zazen to attain enlightenment, but rather to express our true nature. Even your thinking is an expression of your true nature. When you are practicing Zazen, your thinking is like someone talking in the backyard across the street. You may wonder what they are talking about, but that someone is not a particular person. That someone is our true nature. The true nature within us is always talking about Buddhism. Whatever we do is an expression of Buddha nature." When 𝗹𝘄, the second ancestor, came to this point, he told Bodhidharma that he thought he understood. A stone wall itself is Buddha nature. A brick is also Buddha nature. Everything is an expression of Buddha nature. I used to think that after attaining enlightenment, I would know who's in the backyard talking, but there is no special person hidden within who's explaining a special teaching. All the things we see, all that we hear is an expression of Buddha nature. When we say Buddha nature is everything. Buddha nature is our innate true nature, which is universal to every one of us, to all beings. In this way, we realize our true nature is constantly doing something. So 𝗹𝘄 says that there is no cessation in practice because it is Buddha's practice, which has no beginning and no end. Then who is practicing that kind of practice? Personally, he may be 𝗹𝘄, but his practice is constant and everlasting. It started in the beginningless past and it will end in the endless future. So it is difficult to say who is practicing our way. When we practice Zazen, we are practicing with all these ancestors. When we practice Zazen, we are practicing with all the ancestors. You should clearly know this point. You cannot waste your time, even though your Zazen is not so good. You may not even understand what it is, but someday, sometime, someone will accept your practice. So just practice without wandering, without being involved in sightseeing Zazen. Then you have a chance to join our practice. Good or bad doesn't matter. If you sit with this understanding, having conviction in your Buddha nature, then sooner or later you will find yourself in the midst of great Zen masters. So the important point is to practice without any idea of hasty gain. Without any idea of fame or profit. We do not practice Zazen for the sake of others or for the sake of ourselves. Just practice Zazen for the sake of Zazen. Just sit. Thank you very much.